It can either maintain or strengthen, and we expect it to maintain. Winds right now about 155 miles per hour, gusting up to 185 miles per hour. So you have your hurricane warnings in red and your hurricane watches in pink. That takes it a little bit further up into Florida. And it would not surprise me if we start to get some, say, even in the northern tier of Florida, especially around Tallahassee and Jacksonville, because this is where the track is expected to take it. Now, with that said, we expect landfall to be around a Category 4 strength. By the time it reaches that northern section of Florida, it should weaken back down to a Category 1, but that's still going to have incredibly strong winds. Now, at landfall, again, we're talking Category 4 strength, which is where we are right now. As it pushes over land, it will weaken pretty quickly. Tampa, we could be looking at winds, say, around 100 to 115 miles per hour, and then by the time it actually comes all the way inland, say up towards Atlanta, Georgia, we could be looking at winds, say, around 40 to 50 miles per hour. This is going to be the forecast intensity. When you look at it again, it doesn't matter whether you're on the east side or the west side of Florida, you're going to be dealing with really intense winds. Now, take a look at this, because this just goes to show you there are a lot of high-rise buildings in Florida, not just Miami, but other cities. The higher you go up in those buildings, the stronger the winds actually get. So let's say the winds at the surface are 145 miles per hour, for example. You get into a 30-story building, you're now talking winds jumping to 175 miles per hour. Then you get up to, say, an 80-story building, you could be looking at winds nearing 190 miles per hour. So again, this is going to be a concern for a lot of the high rises that we even have across areas of southern Florida and some of those other regions. Now, the other thing that we wanted to note, again, was we're talking about Jose, because this is going to impact, unfortunately, some of the exact same islands that already had to deal with Irma, now getting Jose again. The good news is, long term, this does not look like it's going to impact the U.S. In fact, actually, once it makes its right-hand turn, the only place it's likely to impact would end up being, say, around Bermuda. Now, one of the things that people have talked about is the comparison of Andrew. This is to scale. I want to point that out. This is Andrew. This is Irma. This is a true scale comparison. When we talk about it, the winds for Andrew were slightly higher. At landfall, about 165. We expect Irma to be around 150. But again, the time over Florida, and this is the key, Jim, Andrew only spent 4 hours over Florida. We expect Irma to spend around 30, and that's likely to end up causing some pretty significant damage, just that point alone.
Amazing how big it is. Looks like the perfect storm. Allison Chinchar, thanks very much. Much more ahead from the Florida coast as we continue to track Irma. Please stay with us.
As King Midas, I expect a lifetime guarantee. And so should you. On struts, brakes, shocks.
Does he turn everything to gold?
Not everything.
At Midas, we're always a touch better. Book an appointment at Midas.com.
Binders, done. Super cool notebooks, done.
That's Mom taking care of business. And with the 25-cent event, Office Depot Office Max takes care of Mom. Now, all this, just 25 cents each.
Taking care of business. I make it easy to save $600 on car insurance, so being cool comes naturally. I can't decide if this place is swag or bling.
It's pretzels.
Word. Ladies, you know when you switch, you get my bomb diggity discounts automatically. No duh, right?
Sir, you forgot.
Keep it. You're gonna need it when I make it precipitate. What?
What?
When you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis, the unpredictability of a flare may weigh on your mind. Thinking about what to avoid, where to go, and how to work around your UC. That's how I thought it had to be. But then I talked to my doctor about Humira and learned Humira can help get and keep UC under control when certain medications haven't worked well enough.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Raise your expectations and ask your gastroenterologist if Humira may be right for you. With Humira, control is possible.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on? Oh, hey. That's it?
Yeah.
Everybody, 2 seconds. Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we offer our congratulations on your acceptance.
Through the Tuition Assistance Program, every day, McDonald's helps more people go to college. It's part of our commitment to being America's best first job.
With Custom Ink, you can design custom t-shirts and other great products for every occasion. From the first day of school to game day and everything in between. With the best collection of styles and graphics to choose from, it's easy to go online and create custom t-shirts and more for all of life's events. Get free shipping and on-time delivery, guaranteed. Go to customink.com to get started today.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa.
Hey, kid. Really good to see you.
You too.
You told Grandma you were going fishing again?
Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
This is a ClassAction.com alert. Did you take the blood thinning medications Xarelto or Pradaxa? Many people have allegedly suffered internal bleeding resulting in severe injury or even death. The manufacturer Pradaxa has already agreed to pay out $650 million to patients that had bleeding. If you took Xarelto or Pradaxa and then suffered internal bleeding, visit ClassAction.com or call us now, 800-888-1234.
Welcome back. Sticking with our breaking news on Hurricane Irma, time running out to evacuate. The mad dash to escape Irma not only has the airports packed, but also Florida interstates and evacuation routes. CNN's Ed Lavandera joins me now. He's on the road in South Florida. Ed, I know Florida suspended tolls across the state, one of the steps they've taken to try to ease that traffic along. But how's it look from your vantage point?
Well, we've spent much of the day monitoring these roadways and kind of getting a sense of just how many people here in the most southern part of Florida are heeding those evacuation warnings. It's been interesting. When we drive here, you're looking at the most southern part of Interstate 95 as we pass downtown Miami. And we have driven this interstate from Dade County into Broward County, north into Palm Beach as well. And it has been smooth sailing through here. Now, I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression. Once you get much further north, you apparently do start hitting some of those traffic jams and it slows down considerably. But at least here down in the most southern part of Florida, this is the way we've kind of seen these roads throughout the day. Out in the surface streets, more cars, which gives you the impression that a lot of people are staying here in the Dade County area riding out this storm. Jim?
And that's exactly what many Florida officials have said don't do, and yet they're doing it. Ed Lavandera, thanks very much. The island of Barbuda was decimated by the hurricane, with buildings ripped apart, trees uprooted. These are some early pictures from there. If you want an idea of what this storm is going to be like when it hits the state of Florida, this is an early view of its immense power. Our Leila Santiago just returned from Barbuda, where she saw the devastation like you're seeing here firsthand. She's just arrived back safely, thankfully, in Antigua nearby. Leila, we're seeing some of these images now, but I imagine as you walked around there, drove around, just devastation.
Yeah, what you see from above, right, from those aerials, and then kind of what you feel when you're down there are two very overwhelming feelings. I mean, it is pure destruction. It is desolate. People are overwhelmed. You can tell that it's not a what am I going to do tomorrow? It's a what am I going to do next hour? I mean, they are overwhelmed, trying to get off of the island. Those who are still there. The priority now, not so much to save what Irma did left behind, but more so to save lives. They're trying to get people out. On our way there, we actually saw 5 ferries coming from Barbuda to Antigua. So right now they are bracing for what needs to come with Hurricane Jose. And it just was this feeling, Barbuda is such a vibrant island, so colorful, not just in buildings, but culture and people. And then to see it so desolate, it's really overwhelming. Yeah. And the people with tears in their eyes are just not knowing what to do next and not knowing what the next storm will actually bring.
They're going to need a lot of help, no question. Our Leila Santiago, one of the first to see the devastation there in Barbuda firsthand. Thanks very much. We are just moments away from the next update on the path for Hurricane Irma. Where will it head next? Stick around.
You do all this research on the perfect car, then smash it into a tree. Your insurance company raises your rates. Maybe you should have done more research on them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-888-776-2147 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Today, we're finally getting our bathtub redone. We weren't happy with it.
But we didn't want the headaches of demolition.
Or the days without our bathroom. Then a friend told us about Bath Fitter and their unique tub-over-tub process. There's no demolition, and they install in as little as a day. They also have a seamless wall for a watertight fit. And Bath Fitter has a lifetime guarantee. What a difference. Finally, a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
This is a quest to explore the wonders of our world before the sun sets and the moment passes.
Are you worried about the future?
And these are all toxic pools now.
Never seen anything like this before.
Go there before it's gone. The Wonder List with Bill Weir returns Saturday, October 7th at 9 on C.
I've spoken of a shining city all my political life, God-blessed and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still.
My name is Chris Brown, and I'm CEO of Vestas Americas. Vestas is the largest manufacturer of wind turbines in the world. Last year, Vestas spent $1.3 billion in the USA. We have 6,000 employees across all 50 states and 4 factories right here in Colorado. This story isn't unique to Vestas. Wind is powering American jobs, over 100,000 and counting. Wind energy equals jobs. It's that simple. Wind energy is true American power.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Closed captioning brought to you by OnlyMeso.com.
Mesothelioma, it's all we do. With 7 offices across the country, let us come meet with you. Call us at 1-800-213-8000.
Welcome back. You're watching a live picture there of Miami Beach. You might say the calm before the storm. Hurricane Irma closing in now on southern Florida, and there is an eerie feeling in some typically festive places, particularly this time of year. Let's go to CNN's Chris Cuomo. He is in Miami Beach. Chris, as you know, that beach normally full of people now. Do you find, as you go around the area, that people are finally listening to these evacuation orders?
Yes. The experts, the police will say more than usual, but not enough. There are actually a lot of people on this beach. Just now, the police are starting to come and tell them that they have to get off. This is a mandatory evacuation center, Jim, evacuation zone. So you're not supposed to be here.
Now, we look at the map down there, and of course, Governor Rick Scott told us earlier in the program, it's the storm surge they worry about. He's talking about some areas as much as 12 feet, 1 story of a house or a building. Where you are, I mean, the thing is, you get storm surge like that, there's no margin for error there. I mean, it's all low-lying, isn't it?
Well, that's the problem. You know, you make a choice to stay, you think you'll be okay, but if that winds up to be a bad choice, now it falls on search and rescue. And even though they have one of the best units in the country here, they get sent all over for catastrophes, they're going to be overwhelmed. So everybody who makes a bad choice puts more strain on the system. That's the thing. I mean, you know, you're not just making a choice for yourself, you're making a choice for the firefighters, whoever who might have to come rescue there. As you're there now, you've been talking to some of the local officials, the first responders, etc.
Do they give you the sense they're ready for this? I mean, I know they've seen a lot of hurricanes there, but they haven't seen one like this.
Well, that's what they keep saying, is that they're worried that this will be more than they've ever dealt with before. And a downgrade from 5 to 4, as we both know, that's like the difference between a punch in the throat and a punch in the nose. You know, either way, it's going to really hurt. It's really only a distinction for scientists. So they say they've done as much as they can. And especially the first responders here, Jim. You know, a lot of them just came from Harvey, and they're here to defend their homeland, so they're uniquely motivated, but they leave their families, you know, to help the rest of us, and that's a big commitment.
No question. You're going to be sticking out through it there. Have you talked to any residents who are sticking it out, and have they explained to you why they're making that decision?
Yes, and there's a range. Sometimes it's they're elderly and infirm, they can't leave, or they have other people they have to take care of, or they didn't have the money, they didn't have the access. And then you have people who just say they want to stay, they think they'll be okay. And, you know, look, you can't make them leave, but it is a choice that, as you said very well, Jim, puts others at risk.
Chris Cuomo, stay safe down there. We're glad to have you there, but stay safe. Be sure to tune in this Sunday morning for CNN State of the Union. Jake Tapper, my colleague, he will speak exclusively with Senator John McCain. That is the senator's first live national television interview since his cancer diagnosis. Plus, Jake will also have all the breaking news on Hurricane Irma as this Category 4 storm hits Florida over this weekend and in the coming hours. All starts at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday right here on CNN. That's it for The Lead. I'm Jim Sciutto in today for Jake Tapper. I turn you over now to the very capable hands of Wolf Blitzer. He is in the Situation Room.
Happening now, breaking news, direct impact. A monster storm bigger than the entire state of Florida is bearing down on Florida and could bring catastrophic devastation from one end of the state to the other. It's expected to make a direct impact near Miami. Path of destruction. Hurricane Irma is lashing Cuba and the Bahamas right now after carving a path of destruction across the Caribbean, killing at least 24 people and leaving at least one island reduced to rubble. Last chance. Florida's governor warns that this is the last chance to evacuate or get to shelter. 1 million people have been ordered to leave their homes. Millions more are trying to flee on very crowded highways as emergencies extend up the East Coast through Georgia, the Carolinas to Virginia. And left behind, officials warn that those who won't get out are putting their lives at risk and will be on their own once the storm hits. Rescuers will not be able to answer calls for help. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news, the latest forecast is just coming in for Hurricane Irma. It's now a Category 4 with winds of 155 miles an hour, and it's roaring toward Florida. The monster storm, which has already killed at least 24 people and devastated entire islands, is not finished with the Caribbean. Cuba and the Bahamas are being battered right now, but Florida is bracing for a catastrophic direct hit. There could be storm surges of up to 12 feet along the coast, and the powerful core of the storm could hit the Keys and then the Everglades near Miami, barreling up through the entire Florida peninsula. That's prompted what may turn out to be one of the largest mass evacuations in U.S. history. Florida's governor says time is quickly running out, urging residents to leave now. Hundreds of thousands have been ordered to evacuate, and millions more they're trying to move out of harm's way, leading to clogged highways and gas shortages. Officials in South Florida warn that once the storm hits, they won't be able to help those who decide to stay behind. Georgia and South Carolina have also ordered evacuations beginning tomorrow. I'll speak with Florida's Governor Rick Scott and the director of the National Weather Service and our correspondents, specialists and guests. They're standing by with the kind of full coverage that only CNN can deliver. The breaking news. A new forecast is just in for Hurricane Irma. Let's go straight to our meteorologist, Allison Chinchar at the CNN Severe Weather Center. Allison, what is the very latest?
So the very latest, Wolf, is that we are seeing at least a moderate increase in terms of gusts, going from 185 miles per hour up to 190 miles per hour. Sustained winds are holding steady at 155, but I want you to understand, 2 miles an hour stronger. If this was 157, that would be a Category 5. So even though we are just a Category 4 now, it is at the very top end of that Category 4 strength. You can see the storm continuing its trek in between the Bahamas and Cuba. This plays an important role because over land the storm weakens, but it's over open water. This is where the storms like to be. This is where they can either maintain strength or get even stronger because of that warm water. We've also seen an increase. This swath of hurricane watches and warnings has expanded a little bit because we are getting closer to landfall time, and the closer and closer we get, the more these hurricane watches and warnings are going to spread further north into the state. So keep that in mind. Even if you see your county on the map and it's not under a hurricane watch or a warning as of right now, that could change as we get closer to landfall. Speaking of landfall, we expect that to be around sunrise, somewhere between overnight and sunrise Sunday morning. Again, depending on exactly where that landfall could end up being. It could be over the Keys, it could be around Key Largo. The exact point is still up in the air. However, we do know that it will end up making landfall over some portion of southern Florida and then continue the trek further off to the north. The good news is, as it pushes further north, it is expected to weaken. So the folks in northern Florida won't have to contend with quite as strong of winds as the folks in southern Florida. However, with that said, even 60, 70 miles per hour is a very high-end tropical storm. Places like Tampa, Orlando, you're still looking at, say, a Category 1 to a Category 2 strength hurricane as it makes over your particular locations. So that's going to be key. Basically, from the moment it makes landfall up until we get to, say, Daytona Beach, we still expect this storm to maintain hurricane strength, even though it will be weakening. Now, the strongest storm surge that we expect to get will be along the southern edge of the storm. We're talking, say, West Palm Beach down through Key West could see storm surge of 5 to 10 feet. Naples on the western side down towards Key West could see as much as 6 to 12 feet. Okay, here's the thing. The average first story of a building is 10 feet tall. That means you could see entire homes' first stories submerged underwater because of the potential storm surge that we'll be dealing with this storm. You also, on the western side, you may be wondering why that number is a little bit higher than that on the eastern side. It's called shoaling. The drop-off from the beach down into the deep ocean is not as deep on the western side as it is on the eastern side. That allows that water to be able to push in and go higher on the western side than it would on the eastern side. So keep that in mind, too. Forecast intensity, because of the incredible scale of this storm, how big it is, it will likely take hurricane force winds from the east side of Florida to the west side of Florida. So it really doesn't matter which side of Florida you are on, east coast versus west coast, to determine who is going to have hurricane force winds and who won't. Both sides are likely going to have that. We've also we've heard about comparisons to Andrew. So I want to kind of break that down for you. This is Andrew on the left. This is Irma on the right. Technically, Andrew is expected to be slightly stronger at landfall, 165 miles per hour. We're expecting Irma around 150. But it's the time over the state of Florida where the big difference is. Andrew only spent 4 hours from one side of the Florida to the other. Irma is expected to spend at least 30 hours over the state. And that's going to be the big concern because that's going to allow a lot of heavy rain to fall, which could cause flooding, storm surge, not to mention hours upon hours, Wolf, of those incredibly strong winds.
Allison Chinchar, meteorologist, we'll get back to you. Don't go too far away. I know you're getting more information all the time. I want to check in with our own Brian Todd. He's in West Palm Beach, Florida, for us, where police have been going door to door telling residents to evacuate and evacuate now. Brian, what have you been seeing there?
Wolf, there is a real scramble tonight to get people out of this area. They're trying to get them off Palm Beach Island, this barrier island here to my right, to my left, your right, across these bridges. They're trying to get them over here to West Palm Beach where we're standing, into shelters and into other higher ground because that's a very vulnerable area over there for storm surge. As you mentioned just moments ago, we saw police coming down this street where we're on right now, telling people over the loudspeaker, door to door, evacuate now. Wolf, they are trying to avoid the devastation, the loss of life that just occurred in the Caribbean.
Entire hillsides wiped out, like this one in the British Virgin Islands. Roofs blown off, coastal buildings shredded.
This devastation in the Caribbean is what Florida could be facing as soon as Saturday. In the Dominican Republic, residents look shell-shocked at the amount of destruction, with collapsed buildings, downed trees, and debris strewn everywhere. In Barbuda, one victim hid her family of 7 in a closet as their roof came off.
Every house, every infrastructure, every utility that is there is completely damaged and gone.
Coastal flooding also a problem on islands like St. Bart's. In St. Martin, where buildings are flattened, cars are overturned, and streets are blocked with debris, security forces had to be deployed to counter looting. The Bahamas and Cuba now closest to the deadly storm's path, with Florida up next. 40 million people are estimated to live in the forecast cone. Hurricane-force winds stretching about as wide as the width of the state of Florida, and coastal storm surges of 5 to 10 feet are possible. It is now the final hours in Florida for residents to get ready or get out.
Attention, attention, attention. You are in a mandatory evacuation zone. Please evacuate.
Police here in West Palm Beach going door to door at this point in the final hours before the storm hits. They can't, even in a mandatory evacuation, force people from their homes. This is as close as they can come to doing that.
Mandatory evacuations now covering counties throughout the state, including more than 600,000 people in Miami-Dade alone.
Get in place now. Leave now and get to where you're going to be sheltered for the storm.
Residents around Lake Okeechobee ordered to evacuate based on revised forecasts. Even if the dike holds, there are now concerns about the massive lake's overflow.
We can see some water coming over the top as it'll slosh over the top, which will impact the areas where we evacuated.
At Miami Airport, more than half of the day's flights were canceled. And motorists are reporting heavy congestion on some stretches of interstate, with drive time sometimes taking hours longer than normal. In Miami-Dade, over 10,000 have already gone to shelters. 5 out of 13 shelters are already full. Authorities at emergency operations centers like this one in West Palm trying to get people out or get people safe.
My biggest worry is that people will get stuck on the highway in the middle of the storm. The wrong place to be in a hurricane of this stature.
And another county official told me a short time ago they want people off the roads by tomorrow morning. Wolf, also a scramble tonight to get the elderly into safe places. We've been talking about this for the last couple of days. A county official just told me they're going to elderly people's residence now with special vehicles to try to get them out, get them to shelters, get them to more secure locations. They're continuing their communications outreach to that segment of the population. They are very, very concerned about them tonight, Wolf.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the elderly as well, and there are a lot of them down in Florida. Brian Todd in West Palm Beach, thank you. Florida officials are making a last-minute appeal to residents to evacuate or to find shelter. Joining us now on the phone, the governor of Florida, Rick Scott. Governor, thanks once again for joining us. So how should Florida residents and visitors be preparing at this last minute?
So, Wolf, you can see, if you can see the latest update, we're going to see more storm surge. People have got to understand, if you're in an evacuation zone, you should be very cautious. You should get out now, and you should get to a shelter or get to higher ground, get inland away from the storm surge. And this is a powerful storm, bigger than our state. It's going to impact both of our coasts. I care about every citizen, and we all love our families. I don't want anybody to lose their life.
When will it be too late to get out of the evacuation zones?
When the winds start, you're going to have a very difficult time there. And by the way, when those winds start and we start getting the higher winds, nobody's going to be able to save you. So if you're in an evacuation zone, you've got to get out now. I just got to the emergency operations center, just left Fort Myers an hour ago. I told the residents down there, don't get on the highways after midnight. You've made your decision. You're not going to be able to get north. We are opening up shelters all over the state. Get into these shelters if you don't have a place to go. But we can't save you once the storm starts. We can't get out there to get you once the storm starts. So do it now. Don't wait.
Earlier, you had said that all Floridians, and there are more than 20 million people who live in Florida, should be prepared to evacuate if necessary. Do you anticipate, Governor, any further mandatory evacuations being ordered between now and landfall?
Absolutely. Here's what I think is going to continue to happen. What we just saw with the latest update is higher storm surge on the West Coast. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do in the Fort Myers area, but it's a little bit higher storm surge, so that might impact what they're doing. But as this travels north, and as we know what's going to happen, these communities are going to continue to do evacuations, and so we're going to see more evacuations as it goes. The storm comes up through our state, and I think you'll probably see